Alright guys, this is Don Imran once again with a new vlog, and today we are on our way to Konya. I'm currently staying in Alanya, as some of you may know. The bus duration from Alanya to Konya is 5 hours, approximately 5 hours duration. And it costs about 80 Turkish liras, which is around, I think, about 5 British pounds. There's a special reason why I like going to Konya. As some of you may know, Konya is the resting place of the very famous Sufi saint Maulana Jalaladdin Rumi, and it's a special occasion because it's his Urs. And Urs is for people who don't know what an Urs is, an Urs is a celebration of the day when a saint leaves this world, when a saint veils from this world, because it's a celebration because for that saint they are going back to their origin. So I've been looking forward to this moment, and I'm very, very excited to be going there. You know, I knew about, I think 10 days ago that, you know, it is time to go there, so I've been very excited, anticipating the moment for this trip to arrive. So today's the day, and let's continue and see how it goes. We took a taxi from Konya Coach Station to take us to our hotel. We just came out the masjid, and we just saw this place. It's like a marquee type place, and it looked like there's something going on. So as we walked by, we saw people doing some speeches, and then we looked through the window a couple of hours later, and we've got these wonderful Sufi artists that are perhaps, well, they're definitely singing that song of love towards the divine. The strings, it's as though when he's playing each chord, it's hitting the strings of your heart. So it's a feeling that you can only embrace, and you can only be impacted by when you're close proximity to it and you're listening to it. And it's such a vibe. It's such a wonderful. It's just such a wonderful atmosphere when you're around such an instrument, and when you're around such poetry that is love towards the divine.
Star
today we've got some salep over here. Salep. There's a video I did where I went to Bursa and I had some of this over there. So quite excited to have it after about 3 months. Let's see. Bismillah. It's a very popular Middle Eastern drink, this one, and it's very sweet. And it actually reminds me a bit of porridge, actually, having it today. A bit of porridge, a bit of having the oats in the, during breakfast time. And it's good because I don't have breakfast. It's a bit of a cold day. So when you come to Konya at this time of the year, it's very, very freezing. You've got to wear layers. You've got to have a snood on. You've got to have your gloves on. You've got to have, I should have bought my scarf. I've got like a padded coat, that sort of stuff, with jacket, whatnot, what you want to call it. So having this is a great way to insulate yourself. So definitely delighted to have this. So it's very hot at the moment. So obviously this is a hot beverage and it's covered with cinnamon, if you can see. Covered in cinnamon, which is good. So these ingredients is a good blend and very thick, very viscous. The texture is nice. So it's a good drink. Definitely try it out. Okay, so today we are here in Konya. This is the city of Mevlana. And just over here is the masjid, the Jami of Sultan Selim. This was a masjid that was constructed by the son of one of the sultans. And now we are going somewhere that we've been waiting for, anticipating for quite a few months. I haven't been here for 6 years. I've been here twice before. And that is the maqam. That is the resting place of Jalaladdin Rumi. So let's walk there and let's enjoy the proximity of one of the greatest saints that has ever come in the history of Islam. So just follow me, let's walk there. Now as you can see this green dome just in front of me. I'm assuming that is directly above the resting place of Maulana Jalāldin Rumi. And from experience of coming here the last time, it's not just the tomb of Mevlana, but there's also the resting places, the graves of a lot of his disciples. And opposite this very place, there's a cemetery, and it's got many people buried there, and they seem to have been the disciples of Mevlana as well. Now this is a very busy area. As you can imagine, Mevlana is perhaps, they say that in America he's the most famous poet. For Muslims, he's beyond a poet. There's a lot of people that come over here and they speak about Maulana Jalāldin Rumi, and they say that he's a poet. It's not, you can't just single out someone of that caliber to just be a poet, because there's much more to it. What inspired him to actually say this poetry is what we have to kind of look at. Now, as you can see over here, this is the cemetery I was speaking about. There's many graves over here. And what we have to do right now is go inside, get a ticket. I'm just hoping that there's not too much of a queue, because this is a very popular destination. People actually come to Konya specifically for coming to this museum. So I hope that it's not too packed. I did mention before, or if I haven't mentioned already, Konya was the capital of the Seljuk Empire. So the Seljuks were here, present back in, it was either the 12th or 13th century. So this is going back many centuries ago. And obviously it's not the capital, but you can still see some of the Seljuk flag. So that's very interesting. And as we approach, you can see there's like a little bit of a queue. And I'm going to show you actually where it says about the Seljuks. There's a Seljuk, their flag. And I really like their color. They always had this sort of turquoise blue color, slightly darker. And you'll see it very soon. So this is it. So, Konya, the capital of Seljuks. Seljuks are very, very significant because they were the gateway to Anatolia, which is present-day Turkey. So, let's go up here. You can see over here, there's these turnstiles, and we're going to get our tickets. Welcome to Konya. We are here at the resting place of Jalaladdin Rumi. And this is the 13th century Sufi saint. And some say that he was born in Afghanistan, some say that he was born in Tajikistan, but his resting place is over here. So let's go and see that today. So as you can see, over here there's like thousands of people that have come. And I was mentioning earlier that this is very close to the Urs of Molana Rumi. Follow me. I'm just going to mention what that is. So between the 7th to the 15th of December will be the celebration for the Urs of Mevlana Rumi. And Urs is something that it's a term that is used to indicate the time of death of a saint. And it's a celebration because when someone of that caliber departs from this world, they are going back to the origin. So it's a time of celebration. So that's why there's even more people than you would find usually over here.
Mevlana's full name is Mevlana Jalāldin Rumi al-Balkhi. He is known as Mevlana, our master, in Turkey, and as Rumi the Anatolian in the Western world. Rumi can be regarded as a mystic poet, Sufi, theosophist, or a thinker, but if one could ask him who you really are, he would say, I am nothing more than a humble lover of God. A true lover of God has no definite nationality, language, or race, for he loves God's creation without discrimination. Rumi wrote his great work Mesnevi in 6 volumes, which gives the message of universal love, unity, tolerance, and global peace, leading mankind to the highest stage of perfection. For more than 8 centuries, his Mesnevi has impact on many mystic poets. Among the most famous ones are Goethe, Iqbal, and Tagore. In addition to these, there are many Turkish, Indian, and Iranian poets who followed his path. Lately, his fame has reached the USA and Europe. He was born at Balkh, once a popular city of Khorasan, in the year 1207. His first teacher was his father, Bahadur Sultan al-Ulama, who was a well-respected religious scholar and sincere lover of God. 3 years before the furious army of the Mongols invaded Khorasan, Rumi's father left his motherland and headed towards central Anatolia with his family and followers. First he went to Mecca, from there to Damascus, and then to Karaman, 100 kilometers south of Konya. There, the emigrant family stayed for some years, and finally they moved to Konya, the capital city of the great Seljuk Empire. There, the ruling Sultan Kayqubad gave them a warm welcome. Rumi studied Arabic, Persian, theology, jurisprudence, philosophy, and history of Islam. Al-Balkh and Damascus, he had good chance to meet Islamic scholars with whom he studied and discussed commentaries of the Quran. At Konya, he was finally promoted to the job of teaching fiqh and kalam at madrasas. It was in the year 1244 that he met his spiritual master Shams of Tabrizi at Konya, who brought upheaval in his life. he gave up teaching and began to live a simple life like a dervish following his master. In addition, he began to perform sima in the company of singers and music in the streets or in gardens. The singers sang love poems for God. Rumi also recited poems which were later collected under the title Divan or Divan-e-Shams Tabrizi. His most famous work is the Mesnevi, which brought him everlasting fame. And this information is from the book Roses from Rumi's Rose Garden by Professor Dr. Erkan Turkmen. So this was written in the preface of that book. If you're interested to learn more about Sufism and Islamic meditation, you can do so by checking the links provided below in the description box.
All right, so in front of me, there's these various different rooms. So when you come over here, after you've come out of the main museum, the main tomb of Maulana Rumi, you can, once you exit, there's these various different rooms, like many of them, maybe about 20 or 30 rooms. And it's all to do with the life of Maulana Rumi, from the candles that are used in the 13th century to the attire that they wore, more about the Mevlevi order, which is one of the Sufi orders. There's 41 Sufi orders, so Mevlevi Tariqa, or the Mevlevi way, is one of the 41 Sufi orders. And there's one room which is just directly in front of me about Shams Tabrizi, who was the spiritual guide of Jalaladdin, Maulana Jalaladdin Rumi, Qaddasallahu. And when you go inside of these rooms, you see a lot of the things, a lot of the equipment from that time, from that era, and a lot of information. There's one room which I went into, and it has the original Masnavi, which is the most famous book that was written by Maulana Jalaladdin Rumi, which is worldwide. It's really well known, and the work is an absolute ocean of knowledge, of wisdoms, of teachings, and of lessons as well. So some of these rooms are definitely worth coming into, just to know a little bit more about that era, that time, which is obviously very, very, very different from the world that we live in today. But I always believe in one thing, that when it comes to history, it's always important to look back in history, because at the end of the day, no matter how much the world evolves and no matter how much the world advances, we are still human beings, and we still have the same basic needs that we had in those times, and we still have the same needs and wants in today's time as well. The only thing is that a few things have emerged, but on a spiritual level, what you find out over here is something that remains constant. Everyone needs some sort of spiritual awakening. That's definitely the case in the world today. That is why a lot of people from all walks of life come over here, and of all religions, because when you look at the teachings of Jalaladdin Rumi, Maulana Jalaladdin Rumi, it is a message of immense love, an ocean of love, and an ocean of finding your way towards your origin, towards your soul, and towards the divine. So when you come over here, this is largely emphasized, and it is something that you can breathe in the air. There's a scent in the air that is very welcoming and embraces each and every individual that comes over here. You see people from all walks of life closing their eyes and just feeling as though they are feeling an air of something that they've never experienced before. It's something that you can only describe once you're over here. What people feel and what you see on people's faces is something that they can't find somewhere else. These places are very, very special, and coming here for the third time, I'm once again immensely honored to have the opportunity to be here again, in front of someone of such immense stature, someone that I respect and love wholeheartedly, because what these saints have done and some of the saints today, what they do, it's a mountainous effort. What they have to go through, the vigorous training that they have to go through, and what they do in terms of amending broken hearts, you can only dream of being an epsilon that can make such a difference to the world. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to another area, which is one of the main areas that you see over here, and it's got like a few dervishes dressed up in the attire of the time of Mevlana. So let's go and check that out. Okay, so we're here at this Börek Restaurant, like a small cafe actually, not a restaurant, but there's different flavors. We have halwa, we have keema, we have tahini, which is cheese. So I'm gonna try one over here. The guy that's working over here, he's saying that have it with your hands. This is elle, so it's with your hands in Turkish. So let's see how it goes. Oh, it's got some keema in it, it's got some cheese in it, so this is gonna be wonderful. Bismillah. Wow. I don't know how to describe it because, wow, it feels like the texture is, the closest thing to this texture is like sort of like pasta, inside. That's the cheese. But it's, it's very delicious, like, because it's got the keema that is within the center of it. And it's very flaky when you take a bite. So got some chai over here. Turkish tea. All this very good to wash down whatever you have over here. And this one is halwa börek. This one is filled with tahini. It's very sweet, and also it's got some of this icing powder on top of it. So let me try this one out. I had a little bite before, and I was so happy with it. So let's see. Bismillah. One of my I think this is my favorite coffee on the planet now. And I only discovered this, like, you can see this in the Eskişehir video. There'll be a link somewhere where I had this after many, many years. And ever since then, I've become a huge fan of this. I think this is the feeling that you get when you have this coffee. It's the best feeling it's funny, I don't know how to describe it because there might be coffees that I don't know if I would say this is the best ever coffee, but the feeling that you get is the best ever feeling. It's wonderful. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It takes you into another zone. It's what. How can coffee beans have nostalgia into it? Coffee beans with nostalgia. I feel every time, this is the third time I'm coming here, as I said, and every time I come here, this isn't a place like a regular place that you go and you just go in at a tour and stuff like that. It really impacts you, like it really hits you on your soul, like in a very positive way. And we just bought this book when it was in the shop a few moments ago. It's called Roses from Rumi's Rose Garden, and there's a quote right in in the front cover, which says, and it's from the Mesnevi, if you are with everyone without me, you are with none. If you are with me and with nobody, you are with everyone. Wise words. I always believe in one thing. Choose who your heroes are in life. Sometimes when I see people, they are maybe a little bit upset with life, a little bit down with a few things. And I sometimes ask them, who are your heroes? Who are the people that you put on your posters in your bedroom? Who are the people that you look up to? And many times I look at it and they're not people that I would necessarily look up to. They're not necessarily the wisest of people. And when you do that, there is a deficiency in people's lives. And that's why, of whatever your religion is, whatever your beliefs are, one thing you can't ever knock off is that when someone is famous, not just in their era. Imagine this: someone is famous in their era, but someone is famous centuries after they were on this planet. It speaks volumes about their works. It speaks volumes about the caliber of the individual. So that is something that you see with Maulana Rumi, and I'm speaking about him just out here in a cafe because this whole city, this is his city, this is his city, and this is wherever you are in Konya, you're always thinking about him, and that's a very special and unique thing about Maulana. Like there are some cities where you go to and it is known by the name of the saint, and this is definitely one of them. And it's I just wanted to share that quote with you. So anyways, let me get back to having my Turkish coffee. So today we are over here, Mevlut Oracılık, and we are here with the wonderful shop owner. The food was absolutely magnificent. Çok lezzetli. Senin adın ne?
Mevlüt.
So the shop is named after this wonderful person. Çok güzel yemek. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Ben çok teşekkür ediyorum. İyi ki geldiniz. Nice to meet you. Çok sağ olun. İyi ki varsınız.
Tanıştığımıza memnun
Ben
oldum.
de çok memnun oldum. Sağ olasın.
Look inside. What I love about Konya is that there's so many places over here. It feels like you're like in 1890 or 1790. Yesterday I went to have some Turkish coffee before I came over here and to the Börek place. And it's like you're in the 1890s or something like that, and I love it. I don't like I'm not too much into modern things, because you see it, you've done it, it's everywhere, and seeing something that's different, seeing something that's authentic, seeing something that's made, that's handmade, there's just a different feel, a different energy to it. So that's what I love about over here. And there's a lot of traditional shops over here, obviously done on the method of weighing on a scale sort of thing. And I think I'm not going to buy it right now because we've got so many things in our hand, but when I'm leaving here tomorrow, inshallah, then I'm going to try buying some of this sort of stuff. So again, some apples. These look really juicy and crunchy. Man, look at that. How much 60 euros is? It's about 30p for a doner. 30 pence for a doner, man. You get mugged in the UK, I'm telling you. So we're going over here to Aziziya Jami. Just putting my mask on and just going to go inside now. So see you in the inside. It's been way too long, but today I'm getting Turkish Delight Locum at its best, at its finest. So 1 kilogram,
This box is a box of delight. A box that is fun. No, that is a box that is full of flavor and sweet and excellence and bliss.
They gave me some Turkish delight to taste inside, and it was, look, it's one of my favorite sweets on the planet. So I got like 1 kilo box. I haven't had some of these, I haven't bought a box for like 2 months, you know? And in the past when I bought it, I bought like about half a kilo, which is finished within like 5 days or something. So I was like, let me get an extra, and he put in extra. Like the good thing about Konya is that a lot of stuff that you buy over here is far, far more cheap than where I currently stay in Alanya. Or if you're in Antalya, the province there, it's a little bit more expensive over there. Even though it's not really expensive, but it's a little bit more pricey than Konya in comparison. So right over here, I have these salted nuts, or salted peanuts. And let me just try this out. I got this from the shop just next to it. Looks very good. Look at that. Wow. I can't remember the last time I had something, peanuts or nuts that are this fresh. Because always, whenever I buy nuts or peanuts, it always comes in one of those, you know, well-known packets, you know, that you get from like a convenience store or from the supermarket. But this is the real deal, you know. And it's also like they're really big, fat, crunchy, chunky, all of that sort of stuff. You can kind of tell that this is really, it's handmade. It hasn't gone through some sort of factory or something like that. But man, it's delicious. You know, it's yummy. So I came out of the Turkish Delight shop, all sweet tongue and sweet mouth. Then I'm having this, is kind of neutralizing that with the savory. Again, Adnan Efendi for the Turkish Delight. So,
çektiğini bize de göster, biz de paylaşalım. Evet.
Evet.
Türkiye'de kuru yemiş yiyorsan Adnan Efendi. Kesinlikle. Teşekkür ediyorum.
çok lezzetli.
Tabii canım.
Teşekkür ederim. So yeah.
Yakışıklı. Bunu paylaşıyoruz. Bana adresini yazıyorsun. Etiketliyoruz.
Oh evet. Biz YouTube video yapacağız.
Tamam.
So bu video YouTube için.
YouTube için. Paylaştığında bana söyle ki ben ona göre bakayım.
Adres?
Tabii.
Evet.
Adnan Efendi olarak.
Adnan Efendi, evet.
The very next day, after having our breakfast, we left our hotel, and very close to our hotel, we went up to Aladdin Hill.
Welcome to Aladdin Hill. Today we are over here at this wonderful place. We are going to be walking to Aladdin Boulevard, the whole gardens of where Sultan Aladdin was situated, where his palace was situated, because this is the capital of the Seljuks. So many centuries ago, this is where the Seljuks operated from. So let's go and see that right now. I'm quite excited to see how it looks like, because I'm a big fan of the Seljuks. I watch a lot of Turkish drama that is based on their history. Well, you can see over here, first impressions. It's a very hilly area, and what I was told is that they are excavating some of the palace remains, because it's actually deep down. So we've got this hill over here. So it's very interesting. I want to see if there's any information on that. And as I said, I'm very interested in Seljuk history, because they were the ones that came before the Ottoman Empire, and they were the gateway to Anatolia, to Turkey, present-day Turkey. So let's go and see how it looks like. So Sultan Aladdin Keykubat, he passed away from this world in the year 1237. They say that he was about 46, 47 years of age. And Sultan Aladdin's reign as Sultan lasted for 17 years, between the years 1220 to 1237. And the importance of Sultan Aladdin is that he established and he solidified the Mediterranean borders because of the acquisition of Port Kalos. Now, just to give you some context, where we are actually, yesterday we went to Maulana Rumi, his resting place, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but just directly all the way towards the end, you might be able to faintly see the Dome of Maulana Rumi, so that's directly there. So if you get lost, you know that you can look this way and you'll see like a hill right at the end, and this is where we are situated today, and this is where we've come over here today. So we are going to look at the gardens now, see if there's any remains of the palace, and there's also a very famous Jami, a very famous mosque over here, so we are going to go and see all of these. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to be walking towards the Sultan Aladdin Jami, and I can see it from over here. What I like about these types of masjids is that there's a lot of Ottoman jamis that you find in Istanbul, that you find in various different provinces and cities. But when you come to Konya, you see Seljuk jamis. So this is going back even, many more centuries back. We're going back to like the 13th century. And let's see over here. And they've also, if you see over here, it says Aladdin Cami, and it's also in that turquoise blue, which is the Seljuk colors. And I spoke about this yesterday. There's also another Jami, and on top of it, it's got the Seljuk logo on it, or the Seljuk flag. So let's see. I'm gonna just have a look over here. So you can see over here that it was constructed between the years 1156 to the year 1220. So we're speaking about like, how much is that? That's about like 64 years. So that's quite a long time. There's many buildings that we've seen that have taken so many years. Like there was one, I can't remember what exact building it was, but it was it took about 99 years for it to be constructed. So there's a lot of these buildings that have been constructed, but when it took that long, you see that it's actually stood the test of time by actually being over here. You can see this minaret over here. This is called a fluted minaret. This is, when you see a minaret of this kind, you would know that this is a Seljuk minaret. Look at this mosque, it's so beautiful.
Şu demirler bak. Yan. Bak şuradan baktın mı?
So look how symmetrical these pillars are.
Evet burası da şu demirler önleri. Şimdi kaymaz gayrı. Burası 800 senelik. Alaaddin dünyasını değiştirmiş. Vefat etmiş.
This is, he's saying about 600 years old. It would probably be more, maybe. No, he said second, 800. So this is 800 years old, as he's saying.
Evet. Yukarı Çin'i yapıldı. Mermerler tarihiyesi, yukarı Çin'i tarihiyesi. Çekmez. Şeyi çekilmez. Oturamazlar.
Look at this. It's one of the best mosques I've seen in my life. Very easily.
Evet. Buradan çek. Buradan çekelim.
Look at this.
Ondan sonra gelip ayakkabıları alır türbe Sultan Aladdin. Türbeleri kıldanırız.
Sultan Aladdin. Okay, so what's interesting is that Mevlana Jalaladdin Rumi, he would come over here to this particular mosque, and he would deliver sermons from his famous works, which is called Majlisi Sabah, and people would be gathered, and he would be speaking about this and preaching this to the people. And he wasn't just a spiritual master, but before he became what he became, he was also a faqih. So a faqih is someone that is a master in jurisprudence in Islamic law. So he would actually teach from those works over here. And what's incredible is when you come to mosques like this,
what's wonderful is that you come across people. You come across many different eras because it's not just 8 centuries ago. You say maybe in the 7 centuries ago, 5 centuries ago, or 2 centuries ago, maybe 100 years ago, 50 years ago. You find many people that would have come into this mosque, many legends that would have come into this mosque as well. So starting with Sultan Aladdin Keykubat. So I always love walking in the pathway where great people walked. So this is very important information here. So inside are the graves of all these 8 great sultans of the Seljuk. So Sultan Mesut, Kılıç Arslan II, Sultan Ruknuddin Süleyman II, Ghiyasuddin, Sultan Ghiyasuddin, then 5th number, Sultan Aladdin, and then Ghiyasuddin K. Rusef, the second that we see also as the son of Sultan Aladdin in Dervish. Then we have Kılıç Arslan the 4th, and then there's Ghiyasuddin the 3rd. So all 8 of these graves of these great sultans is inside over here. So we'll be showing that to you. So follow me to see this, to see the 8 graves. And you can't really go inside, but you can see through the window over here. So I'll just show you how this looks like. I'll show you how this looks like. So there's 8 of these graves of these sultans. And it's amazing when you look at the resting place of people that have left this world, people that had incredible power to be called a sultan, to be running state affairs, to be running a country, to be running multiple countries as well. And they're in the resting place. And sometimes we as regular people think we are something. So this is always food for thought. But may Allah bless their souls, because they were part of an incredible empire. We are very lucky. We have this wonderful individual here. He's showing us, giving us a tour of this location. We didn't really ask for it, but he's been very kind to show us. Okay. Go on. Ah. Sultan Saray?
Sur.
Sur.
Evet, buradan alırlar içerlermiş.
Oh, su.
Su. Evet. Yavaş.
So this is the well
Evet.
where the Sultan would drink water from. So it's a very, I can't remember seeing a well this wide. So this is the well that they would take out their drinking water from. So it's very nice to see. Let's continue and proceed.
Şuradan aşağı in. Şöyle döndüğünü ince minare. Karatay Medrese.
Medrese.
Şems Hazretleri.
Oh, Shams.
Mevlana.
Ah. Okay, so I'm stood directly in front of. They have actually excavated some of the palace, and there's only like a small portion that you can kind of see at the moment. But what's being said is that a lot of it went underground, so they're trying to bring it out. So they're going to spend a bit of time. It might take I don't know how long it would take, but there's a lot of writing in Turkish that needs to be translated. And what I will do is I would actually go and check online exactly what's happening, what's the status with this. But from what I know is that it went underground. There's obviously, this is a very hilly area, and they've gone deep into the ground. They are digging, and they're trying to take out the remains of
the palace. So I'm very interested to see. I hope that one day they can actually take out a significant portion so that I can come over here and see it. So when you watch Dervish, the palace, the Saray means palace, that Ertuğrul Ghazi and his family and his Alps that come to, is actually this one over here. You also see it in Kuruluş Osman as well. Behind this small remain of the palace, you will see there's a madrasa as well. So that's directly in front of it. So it's when I've come to Konya before, I've not really understood how big the city is, but it does have quite a few things to see, So definitely come over here and do some good research before you come over here, because you don't want to miss out these significant places that, like, just imagine, this is where they ran Anatolia, which is present-day Turkey from, all those centuries ago, 8 centuries ago. So it's a very significant place, and it's definitely one that you want to come and see and learn a bit about the history of the ones that run it. Okay, so this is the Ince Minara Museum. This is one of the things that a lot of people come to Konya, they don't really show, so we want to show you something that you can do on top of visiting Maulana's museum as well. So let's go inside and enjoy the views. The last tickets are given 20 minutes before closing, so come here by, just before 4:20 p.m., okay? So let's go inside. Yeah. So the tickets are about 12. The tickets are 12.5 liras each. So let me get the tickets and then we'll go inside. Alright, so let's go inside. So look at the stone carving. It's so old. This one you can kind of tell, like in comparison to the Cami, which still lasted the test of time, or proven the test of time. This one, you can see how old it is. You can tell that it's, so many centuries old. So let's just walk inside. I love reading about history because, again, it takes you back to a time you can't imagine, how many people we meet in our life, but you can't imagine that, so many centuries back there were people that were living that had desires and goals and ambitions and everything like that. They're not here right now. Ince Minare Stone and Wooden Works Museum. Okay, so it was built by the Seljuk Vizier Sahib Ata Feraddin Ali in the year 1258 in the reign of Seljuk Sultan Izzeddin Keykavus II. It was built for teaching the hadith knowledge. The architect of the madrasa is Keluk bin Abdullah. It was opened to the public as Stone and Wooden Works Museum in the year 1956. In the museum, stone and wooden samples are on display, dated back to Karamanolu principalities, Seljuks and Ottoman time. Okay, so right now we are here, what is believed to be the resting place of Shams Tabrizi, Qaddasallahu Sirruh. Some believe that he left Mevlana Jalaladdin Rumi and wasn't to be seen again. But there's some people that believe that this is the place where the great saint, the great teacher, the great spiritual guide of Maulana Jalaladdin Rumi is resting. So let's have a look at this this wonderful place, and I'm a huge admirer of Shams Tabrizi. So let's have a look at the resting place of Shams Tabrizi.
This wonderful, wonderful man, he has given me like a few books. These are present books on tasawwuf, on Sufism. So thank you so much.
Not much. I can give one again. I'll give second one.
Second one?
Yeah, wait, second one.
So this is very generous. This is what you get over here in Konya. You get very generous people. Like he's given me about 4 books maybe. Yeah, 4
This
books.
is also. You can give another person,
Okay.
your friends, another. Okay. If you will be happy, this is present, all free.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Memnun oldum.
Ben memnun oldum.
And with that said, that's the end of today's video. Do make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and comment below whether you will be coming to Konya anytime soon. And with that said, catch you in the next one, inshallah.
This one's good actually.